also agreed, as noted on the large poster as you entered. The League has used procedures like these for over 60 years to ensure a fair process and encourage civil discourse. I'm about to read them to you, and it will take about 3 minutes, so please bear with me. 1, the moderator will be a member of the League of Women Voters from outside the district. I live in New York City. Candidates' opening statements will be determined by drawing lots before in-person events. The same order will be for opening and closing statements. Each candidate will be allowed 3 minutes for an opening statement. 4, after all candidates have spoken, the moderator will open the meeting with questions. Questions may be submitted beforehand electronically, but priority will be given to questions asked at the microphone. 5, in all cases, the moderator will be the final arbiter of whether questions should be answered. Questions must not be duplicative, personal, or abusive. Questions at microphone will be strictly limited to less than 1 minute. 6, each candidate will be given 90 seconds to answer each question. At the moderator's discretion, the time for a response may be reduced so long as it is the same for everyone. There will be no rebuttal. Questions may be addressed to a specific candidate or to candidates in general, although all candidates will be given an opportunity to answer any question addressed to a specific individual. 7, the moderator will attempt to rotate the order of responses for each question. 8, a League member will act as timekeeper. 30 seconds from the end of any given time period, the timekeeper will alert the speaker by a prearranged signal. Candidates who ignore time signals may have their speaking time reduced, and those not violating the rules may be given extra time. 9, candidates will have 2 minutes for a closing statement. 10, since the purpose of the meeting is to determine the candidate's views, no substitute for the physical presence of the candidate at in-person events will be allowed should a candidate be unable to attend. No written or recorded statement may be provided in lieu of active participation by a candidate. Forums require 2 or more candidates for each seat to be present. The use of props, charts, or visuals, and the display of campaign collateral or apparel is prohibited. And finally, number 11, in accordance with the League policy, the League owns the content of its forums. Audio or video recording by authorized members of the media will be permitted only if agreed to by all candidates present. The League maintains the right to record the forum and publish it on League-controlled electronic pages. No other recording will be allowed. No partial transcript or recording may be published without written permission from the League. So those are the procedures. So like you, we in the League are here tonight because we believe that citizenship requires both voter education and civic engagement, and that the responsibility for maintaining good government rests on the shoulders of you, the voters. So we have expectations for you. 1, please be sure your cell phones are turned off or silenced, and please do not block the doors or the camera. 2, your purpose is to hear from candidates, so let's focus on their voices and not yours. 3, please remain seated and silent during the Q&A unless you are moving to or from the microphone. As moderator, I will stop the debate if the audience interrupts. Interruptions reduce the time for candidates to speak, and we're here to listen to them. 4, to repeat, the League policy permits only authorized recordings of this forum. Taking clips or segments is not authorized. The League is recording this forum and will post it on the League of Women Voters Port Washington-Manhasset YouTube channel this week before the election. And 5, any audience member who violates the agreed procedures for the forum or disrupts the forum by ignoring these audience expectations after being warned may be asked to leave. So with all the procedures said, we're going to with the candidates' opening statements. So when the candidates arrive, they drew straws for speaking order. Mr. Idle will be going first for both opening and closing remarks. Mr. Meyer will be going second for opening and closing remarks. And Mr. Gibbons will be going third for both opening and closing remarks. I'll now ask the audience to applaud briefly after each candidate's opening statement, and then, if you can, hold all applause and other responses until after the closing statements. So Mr. Idle, your opening statement.
Good evening. My name is Charles Idle. Thank you for joining us tonight, and thank you to the Port Washington-Manhasset League of Women Voters and the Port Washington Library for hosting this event. I'm running for the position of Port Washington Water Commissioner, a job that is responsible for managing and with leadership and direction the operations and the infrastructure for the delivery of safe and plentiful water every day. I believe I'm the best candidate for the future based on my diverse business, technical, operations, and environmental skills. As your water commissioner, I will work tirelessly to protect the infrastructure and water resources which is drawn from a sole source aquifer. Now a little bit about my background. I worked my way up through as a team leader, supervisor, manager, VP, technology operations for Fortune 500 companies in the US and Europe. I secured my top secret clearance working for the federal government, and I started a technology company firm, which I've been working with and for 23 years. My work history provides me the opportunity to compile a diverse skill set that encompasses budgeting, contract negotiations, facilities management, training, HR, staffing, project management, systems engineering, as well as managing long-term strategic plans. All these tools and skills will be necessary for this position. My long history and award-winning environmental leadership record of advocacy, action, and activity shows my care, concern, and commitment to the future of our community, environment, and our water. Remember me when you see the 80-foot utility poles wrapped in plastic to protect our community. I fought hard and won to have the EPA ban the chemical and utility poles with pentachlorophenol by building a supportive coalition with the town of North Hempstead, Residents Forward, Port Washington Water District, and other environmentalists across Long Island and the United States. As for community involvement, I've helped to create the first Port Washington Citizen Science Water Testing Program with partnering with Transition Town Port Washington. I'm a member of the Port Washington Chamber of Commerce, Residents Forward. I'm a proud sponsor and donor to many civic organizations, and I play my guitar for many fundraisers in town. I am acutely aware that the Water Commissioner's job involves many aspects in order to maintain water quality. I will ensure that I work as a team member with the other commissioners, executive staff, as well as fully support the operational staff who run the back office and field operations, providing the day-to-day maintenance of the infrastructure, and I will provide new ideas for the preservation and the future of the infrastructure supporting our drinking water. If elected, I will take this position with the greatest responsibility, importance, and care. I will support and promote sustainability, conservation, and any other method necessary to protect our groundwater and our environment. I have the skills, and I'm up for the task.
Thank you. Mr. Meyer, your opening statement, please.
First of all, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters and the Port Washington Library. Also, before I get started my statement, I'd like to ask for a moment of silence for the people of Pearl Harbor that fought for our freedom today. Also, I'd like to say Happy Hanukkah to whoever it affects. Anyway, I'm ready. For the past 23 years, I have served as the Water Commissioner of the Port Washington Water District. I have been a Port Washington resident for close to 50 years. I own and operate Meyer Mechanical Services, located here in Port Washington, and I am an active member of the Port Washington community. Port is what I call home. As a resident, my family and I share the same needs that every other Port Washington resident requires from their water district. As a commissioner, I have ensured that our community water quality is safe, plentiful, and delivered without interruption. I am proud to say that the water we deliver continues to meet and or exceed all local, regional, and national quality standards. I have dedicated my time as a water commissioner to ensure physical responsibility, longevity, and conservation of the water supply for our district. Along with my fellow Water Commissioner, Mr. David Brackett and Ms. Mindy Germain, we have shaped our district into one of the most sophisticated and technologically advanced water providers in the region. I also secured $18 million in grants from New York State to construct new treatment facilities to lessen the burden on our ratepayers. We continued to litigate against polluters to pay for the capital costs for our new treatment systems. My diligence, preparedness, and planning are the difference in delivering a plentiful water supply even during emergency situations. Some of my accomplishments working alongside my fellow commissioners, currently overseeing the advancement of our treatment systems being installed at Christopher Morley Park and Eula Well Number 4. Worked with our engineers to plan and build one of the most sophisticated plants in the region at the Stony Town Well. Working to build the initial infrastructure for an AMR program to allow residents to monitor their water usage through an app as for automated reading systems. Supported our conservation programs such as a Do It for Port campaign within the district, which educates our consumers and helps protect and sustain our water supply. Coordinated and worked with the sewer district to reuse water to flush the sewer mains instead of using fresh water, saving the water district $650,000 gallons per year. Helped to coordinate pharmaceutical take-back programs. Implemented an online bill paying system to make it easier and convenient for our customers to pay their bills online. As a long-time water commissioner with a proven track record of experience, I am committed to the community as an environmental leader and will continue to protect and serve and manage Port Washington's water resource. As commissioner, I'm putting Port first, today, tomorrow, and in the future. Thank you very much.
Mr. Gibbons, your opening statement, please.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters first and foremost. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Mark Gibbons. I'm running for Water Commissioner. I reside with my wife Jody of 22 years, my daughter Samantha, who's currently attending University of Vermont, and my son Tyler, who is currently in the 3rd grade at Salem Elementary School. I started my contracting business in the late 1980s right here in Port Washington, doing anything an eager teenager could do to make some money working on homes. This town has given me opportunity after opportunity to build a successful contracting corporation. Now it's time to pay back to a community that has given me so much. In 2002, over 20 years ago, I was hired to extend the roof hatch framing at the Hewlett Well Number 4. When I was taught the purpose of all the machinery, I was fascinated, and I knew that I wanted to be involved. A commissioner is responsible for making sure that every Port Washington resident has access to plentiful, clean, dependable drinking water. The commissioner is also responsible for maintaining and improving Port Washington's water towers, wells, vaults, and its vast underground distribution system. Along with my passion for Port Washington, my vast construction experience, genuine problem-solving skills, and the ability to build a strong, diverse team makes me an excellent candidate for Water Commissioner. The Port Washington Water District already has excellent conservation programs. Do It for Port leak detection kits that were handed out that saved 113,000 gallons of water. WaterSense Wi-Fi sprinklers that are definitely cutting edge. But there's always more that can be done. Irrigation home assessments, rain harvesting for irrigation. Plants love chlorine-free water. Promotion of dual flush toilets, working with other districts to spread a consistent message for a common goal across Long Island. Conservation is just not Port Washington's problem, it's Long Island's problem. There's $75 million in the current budget for information and education. I would like to spread this message of conservation at an early age by visiting local elementary schools, meeting with the children, and teaching about conservation in a fun, exciting, educational way. As a commissioner in Port Washington, you are, or should be, held to a higher standard. Along with water conservation, I'll use this platform to spread the message of unity. I'll spread the message that hate, racism, and anti-Semitism is not welcome in Port Washington. We must send a message of inclusivity because clean, safe, dependable water is vital for everybody to thrive and live. Thank you.
So now we will begin with your questions. We ask that, again, that you hold your applause until the end. We've assembled here to hear from the candidates and not from our fellow citizens. So if you want to go up to the microphone to ask a question, now is your opportunity. You can direct the question to an individual or to the panel. All three will have the opportunity to answer the question.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
No? My name's Mark Mogul. I've been in Fort Washington for about 35 years. I have a question directed at all of you. I think there's about 43 water districts in Nassau County, and I think that there's opportunities from simple things like billing, where money can be saved if the various districts can work together.
Can you get closer to the microphone? Yeah.
If the, is it on? Is it on now?
We can hear you.
Okay.
I can hear you.
Okay. So my question is this. There's opportunities, I think, to work together for the various water districts.
Hold on a second, sir.
Hold it closer.
Okay. So I think there's opportunities to work together for maybe to have, not necessarily consolidate, but even to have shared services, to do such things as billing, which right now, my impression on the Port Washington Water District has a very poor billing system. And I think there's lots of money to be saved, so I'd like to know what you think about, are you willing to work with other districts to develop shared services?
Mr. Meyer, you will have.
As of right now, we do share services, especially when we're buying equipment, and any other individual parts and well pumps and everything else. As far as the billing goes, if you're unsatisfied with the billing, please call the office, and I'm sure we can see what your actual problem is. As far as consolidating, I'm against consolidation, because Port Washington, if you have a problem with your water, you want to be able to call up your local supplier and get somebody right on the spot right there, and that's what we do. Not like if you're gonna call Suffolk County Water and it takes you 2 days to get somebody out of here. You call Port Washington, somebody's right there. Thank you.
Mr. Gibbons?
Okay, well, as far as everybody can hear me, right?
Yeah.
As far as a consolidation, I'm with Mr. Meyer as well. I like our men on the field to be fixing our stuff. As far as billing, if there is an actual way that we can send the cost savings down to the actual end consumer, then that's something I would love to look into. However, I am from Port. I plan to stay here my whole life. I like the idea of the Port Washington Water District being by itself, just because I'm from Port, and I think it's better if we control everything within Port. Because now all of a sudden we have somebody billing from outside of our area, then everything can get shifted up and get a little bit more confusing. And again, I'll reiterate, if it is a substantial cost savings where it's going to go down to the end consumer, where they're going to save a lot of money, then it's definitely looking into.
Thank you. Mr. Arnold?
I'm with my other two candidates. I would want to keep the Port Washington here with the water department. For shared services, I think that's also, I would agree that if we can find ways to do shared services for pumps and other things, we should be doing that. As for billing, yes, if there's a way to improve the technology side of the billing to lower the cost, I come from that background. I would be willing to look into it. For opt-in, opt-out, for, if you don't want to get a paper statement, you can get an electronic statement. Those are, functions that could reduce, the cost of sending paper bills.
Thank you. The next questioner?
Hi, I was kind of clueless about the water situation until a few years ago when I saw this movie called Dark Waters with Mark Ruffalo. I don't know if you guys saw it, but it was based on a real story about this town where the water system was contaminated, and there were all these weird people had all these weird deformities, and it was contaminated with the stuff PFAS. And after I saw this movie, I started looking into the Port Washington water, and I realized that we had this PFAS, and we also had something called 1,4-dioxane. And, I've lived here for 30 years, and I've been drinking this stuff. So, I guess my question is, well, for example, Mr. Meyer, you've been on the commission for 23 years. Was there anything you could have done to prevent this PFAS contamination, this 1,4-dioxane contamination? I'm just wondering.
The answer to your question is we're monitoring our wells all the time, our water all the time. We have this thing called the SCADA system, which checks all and monitors all our water, and all the flow valves and everything else. But as far as the PFAS and PFOAs, they tested over 100 things this year. It came up 80 out of 100 contained PFAS. It's from the chemical companies, and it's in everything from pizza boxes to every type of makeup and everything else in your bathroom. And they go down into, especially in Flower Hill, where they have cesspools instead of a water treatment system like we have with Port Washington Water Pollution Control, and that goes into our drinking water. And we can't control everybody dumping everything else, but that's why we have the pharmaceutical take-back day, which we work hard at, we monitor it, and that's why we're spending $75 million for the next 5 years to take out PFAS and PFOAs and any other VOCs that might be in it. So we are working diligently. If you see the new building that we're constructing up there by Christopher Morley Park, that's one of them. And we've done one at Hewlett number 4. We're gonna go to Stonington next. And we got several others. We're gonna go one right after the other.
Mr. Gibbons, would you like to answer the question?
Well, yes, I'd like to add to it a bit here. First of all, let me talk about what 1,4-dioxane actually is. Okay, it's a synthetic organic chemical that's used as a stabilizer for industrial solvents. 70% of Long Island wells are contaminated with it. It was produced from 1950 to 1990 when it was ended use in 1990 because they found out how dangerous it was. It will actually cause liver damage and kidney damage. You have to use an AOP system to be able to take it out of the actual system. It's an advanced oxidation process, of which what you do is you introduce an oxidant into the groundwater, you hit it with a UV light, it creates a reaction with it, it creates free radicals, which gets rid of the 1,4-dioxane. Fortunately, it creates a peroxide, so now you have to send it through the GAC system, which is a granular activated carbon. But that also takes care of the POFAs and the PFOSs. The PFOAs are the acid, the PFOSs are the sulfates. So now we have the ability to take that out of, we just need to be, what's the next emergent contaminant? That's gonna be the next system that we're gonna have to be putting into it. Because we're gonna need more space, we're gonna need more technology, and we're gonna need, unfortunately, more money.
Mr. Idle?
I would like to say that Port Washington Water is probably the finest on Long Island. You have nothing to worry about at this point. We are all up against emerging contaminants. 1,4-dioxane was the most recent that has come up across Long Island. And yes, just to Mr. Meyer's point, it's in many different products that are out there today. So although we're cleaning 1,4-dioxane out of the water, it's unfortunate, but 1,4-dioxane, which is sodium lauryl sulfate, is sitting in many of the products you use at your home. So the water is good. The water is safe. I think we need to do an incredibly better job educating people, as Mr. Meyer pointed out, that, it's the products we use at home. It's the septic systems that we have at home. The Port Washington Water District will do everything possible to make sure that we have the technology in place to sure your water is safe, but fertilizers, using Roundup, and flushing your medicines down when you have a septic system are the things that we can't control. We can educate, but we can't control. But we can, with the technology, we will make sure that you have safe water.
Thank you. Next questioner?
Hi, my name is Audra. I'm a Port Washington resident. I'll be raising my family here as well. I have a question. Okay, I just don't want this to freak out. I have a question with the area of Manhasset Isle with water contamination. So I'm originally from Seaford, and I'm a Long Island girl, and there was a plant called Grumman, and it's a big deal on Long Island, and they recently settled, and they had the Grumman airplanes, and I know Manhasset Isle had Titan Steel and some other industrial areas, and I just want to know, for people that come in and they want to like invest here or they want to live here, has testing been done on certain areas periodically? Because some of those companies are not here anymore and they left, but their work is still here, and that sometimes takes time. I don't know, maybe it's perfect. I know our water quality is fantastic here, but are they periodically like testing areas? Because I know like some areas cannot be developed, I was told, and I want to know how long that might be. Could that be lifted, etc.?
Mr. Idle?
Well, I believe any developer, before they develop, and I think the area you're talking about, yes, the ground is tested. It has to go through different examinations before they can even build on it.
How long is that going to take? Because I understand they left about like 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah, I can't speak to that, but I'm going to speak generally to, I think you've touched on the issue that whatever lands on the ground, whether it happens to be in the Titan Steel plant, which I think what you're referring to,
Correct,
or
another
the
area.
Grumman plant, or anywhere, anything we put in the ground
Yep.
could eventually, find its way into water that we don't want it to find its way into, which leads me back to what my first statement was, which is the Port Washington Water District will do everything in its power with all the technologies that it has to ensure that you have the best water and the safest water possible. We as a community must be very due diligent about what we are putting on the ground, and we must be better educated about things like sodium lauryl sulfate and others that are, we're as I said, we're trying to clean 1,4-dioxane, but yet it's in other products. So it's a joint effort between the community and the water district.
Mr. Meyer?
As far as Titan Steel, they've been doing remediation over there and been testing for the last 10 years. And as far as the water district, we have wells over on Sandy Hollow Road, which in the wintertime we do not run. We try to keep that with the first one's off, last one's on, so we're not pulling any type of contaminants that way. The water over there that we do have on Sandy Hollow Road is fine. It's very good water. But we do monitor, we do testing throughout. We test our water throughout the whole system in Port Washington every week. We spend over $160,000 a year just in testing to test the water to make sure what you're drinking is the best water there is.
Mr. Gibbons?
Okay, well, first I want to touch on the Bethpage. Bethpage was actually the first water district to have an AOP system, and that's because of the Grumman plant. Bethpage was hit, it was devastated, their water quality was lost. The Iconson Steel and Typhon Steel are two steel plants on Manhasset Isle. Typhon is the one bigger one. It's actually where the first transatlantic plane took off of out of, go to Europe. Iconson Steel is actually being developed right now. They went through vigorous testing to get it done. Typhon Steel has been sitting there ever since I was a little kid. My boats are kept at the marina right across the street. I've been there my whole life. I have no idea what's going on in that property.
Do you live on Manhasset Isle?
No, I did live on Mohegan when I graduated college. I lived there for 3 years. Okay, so the water quality though that you're actually drinking is all treated. All water in Port Washington is treated the same. Just because you're in Manhasset Isle, the water quality won't be any different. One of the problems with Iconson Steel, or Typhon Steel rather, is its proximity to the closest to the water of the natural salt water. So all the contaminants now are just getting plumed right into our natural water supply, and that's one of the biggest problems. I honestly don't foresee that property being developed anytime soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions? This is your opportunity. We have all three candidates here, so please come to the microphone.
Hi, my name's Leslie. I don't think this is working, but I can talk loud. I have actually 3 questions. One is from a friend. What do you know about AOP treatment and how does it work? We could do that one first.
Mr. Meyer?
AOP treatment, it stands for Advanced Oxidation Process. And what that does is we pump it out of the well, it goes through the AOP treatment, which is a bunch of ultraviolet lights. It all depends how much water we actually pump from the well. It'll tell you how many actually ultraviolet lights we have going through that. And from there, after it kills the VOCs there, it goes into the GAC, which is a granular activated carbon filter, and then from there it goes in the system. It's tested before and it's tested after every week, and the water is fine.
Mr. Gibbons?
Okay, like I touched on the AOP earlier, but I can just do a real quick plant overview for you because I already touched on that. First thing we're doing is adding a sodium hydroxide, which optimizes the pH and it takes the corrosion away so it doesn't beat up our equipment as much. Then it goes to the AOP only if the site needs it. And then the site is one part per billion, and that's as of August 2022. And again, as I said before, you introduce an oxidant into the groundwater, and then when you hit it with a light reactor, it actually reacts with the oxidant, creates a free radical, which destroys the 1,4-dioxane. Again, it creates a byproduct of peroxide, then you run it through a granularly activated carbon, which removes the peroxide, the other byproducts that are caused by the AOP system. And then it goes to a tablet chlorinator, where you get your chlorine from, and then it's ready to go out to your regular supply system and such. When you do have a SCADA system, which Peter read, it's system control and data acquisition. It's actually pretty cool. On that one screen, you get to see everything that's going on. All of our wells, our towers, our vaults, and on the bottom, if a Rick's well is low on pH, you'll see a little thing coming across there. So all of the controllers have a really good look at everything, and they can take care of our water rapidly and safely.
Thank you. Mr. Idle?
I'm going to tell you I don't know everything. However, I can tell you that we have an excellent supervisor who's overseeing with an incredible team. We have engineers. As a water commissioner, I'm going to learn very quickly about all the details. I come from a very high-tech world. I've been in server rooms doing server software development, wiring, using HVAC. I will learn all these things. What I can tell you is similar to what the other 2 gentlemen said. I know that we pull from the ground, we send it into tanks. The tanks do certain sets of ensuring that it's cleaned and it's safe before it is delivered to you. And from the diagrams that I have seen, there's about 3 or 4 different steps, and each well and how it's being treated is different. So when you say it's AOP or 1,4-dioxane, the effort they're putting in to the Christopher Morley plant is that huge building you see is almost all 1,4-dioxane. I can't tell you every little tank there and what it's doing, but I do know it's cleaning the 1,4-dioxane.
Thank you. Gordon?
Okay. What do you think are the most important issues facing the water district in the next 5 years?
Mr. Gibbons?
What's the next new emerging contaminant? 10 years ago, we didn't know about 1,4-dioxane. There's always going to be something new, and it's how we proactively look at it and how we are going to take care of it. We need to start, there are going to be bigger projects in the future, and we need to start trying to get more land from Nassau County. They've already said that they will not give it to us, and we need somebody in there who's going to start pounding down the door, because in my children's lifetime, we will need to build bigger plants and more filtration. I'm planning to stay Long Island the rest of my life. Hopefully my children will be here too. I'm confident that Port Washington Water District can take care of all of our needs for many, many, many generations to come.
Thank you. Mr. Idle?
I see it as it's an operational area that's running. We have trucks that need to be potentially, over the next 5 years, need to be maintained. We've got billing systems that we're talking about tonight. We also have water itself, which needs to be maintained. So all of the technologies that are in the plant need to be covered. I would agree also that I don't know what the next emerging contaminant is that's coming. I'm quite confident that with technology as it is today, and as quickly as we found a solution for 1,4-dioxin, there will be solutions to ensure that you are delivered safe water. The space in the plant could be an issue because, you know, each plant that we have to pump and clean water has only got so much space. It may need a new building. I don't really think there's anything that we can't tackle. I've seen what the Port Washington Water District has done today, and I'm quite certain in the next 5 or 10 years, we will find solutions for each and every issue.
Thank you. Mr. Meyer?
We are on the forefront of all these contaminants. Between our engineers, our testing, we send everything to the lab. Well, we are one of the first, as far as the AOP, we're already building them. That's why Christopher Memorial is there. That's why we did Hewlett. We were in the forefront right in the beginning, trying to make sure that our water is good. And as far as to save money, I can't say that you're gonna try to save money because we keep doing all this testing. Mark mentioned about land. Right now, the state of New York will not give us any more land, and there's no land in Port Washington to buy. You need a couple of acres. There's no couple acres to buy to drill a new well, and even if you watered a new well, piece of property, it would cost, the testing and testing. You could buy something, and then you could find a piece of property is no good. So what we're doing right now is we're building up oil plants as we speak, and we're gonna go higher with them. We're going to the forefront of thinking what is the next thing. If one thing right now is got one type of VOC, we're treating for that, but we're also we're building it to treat for the PFOAs and PFOSs. It's not something that we're not thinking about for the future. We're thinking about you and me and what we're drinking, like Mark said, as kids. We're thinking about that in the future. We're not just thinking about today. We're moving ahead with the thinking.
Okay,
Thank you.
then the last question. What is a GAC and what is its purpose?
Mr. Idle?
I'm not an expert on all these items. I'm sure it's a process in order to clean the water. And as I said before, once I become a water commissioner, I will have intimate knowledge and experience and understand how that's done. With my technology background, in years of having to learn new software development methods and languages and everything else I've had to learn, I have no concern of my learning that process.
Thank you. Mr. Meyer?
Stands for granular activated carbon. Our water goes through there and it has carbon that washes through it and takes out the VOCs, volatile organic compounds. And that's mainly what we used to use prior to this new AOP treatment. And the testing now, we can go down and test to the trillions and billions. But before, 15 years ago, we could only go down to the, hundreds of thousands, you know what I'm saying? So the testing now that we're doing, we can test all these VOCs, and the GAC has taken the first part of that, which we were ahead of the game doing that, and now we're doing the AOP treatments for PFOSs and PFOAs. We're looking out for you.
Thank you. Mr. Gibbons?
It's basically a carbon filter. It's basically what it is. I mean, there's only so much you can talk about it. It does remove the PFOA and PFOSs. Before that, you had what was called an air stripper, basically where you had the water come down and you blew air up through it. You had some holes in there. That would force the contaminants up. This is the next level of it that it goes through. This is the newer generation of it. But basically, it's a big carbon filter that pulls out the contaminants as need be.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Owen Costello. My question is directed to you, Mr. Gibbons and Mr. Idle. If elected, what would you do differently that Commissioner Meyer is not currently doing? Please be specific.
Mr. Gibbons?
I would show my face, first of all. You don't see Mr. Meyer at any promotional events, except when he's running for election. I want to be the face of this water district. I want to take it to the schools. I want to implement educational ideas with young children, because when you teach them young, you instill it for the rest of their life. That's what I'm looking for this water district. That's pretty much all.
Thank you. Mr. Idle?
I hope to bring in my operational background. As I stated in my opening remarks, I've managed multi-site operations. I'm talking about everything from what was asked before, from the billing systems to the servers that are in the rooms, to looking at advanced technologies, looking at the fleet that is now aging in the vehicles. Water is number one. It's absolutely positively number one. It's the first thing that we have to do, but literally we are operating a plant. And I want to be active, and I think I can bring solutions in to lower costs in the operations. One of the things I was looking at the budget is the entire electrical bill. The electrical bill could be lowered by putting in community solar. We could get on, you don't have to have solar on every rooftop there. You can use community solar, which would drastically reduce our electric bill. I hope to take a bigger picture view of the operation itself and look at helping to maintain cost. I would also look at doing more grant writing. We have grants and we've gotten them, but I think we need more in order to control the cost there.
Thank you. Mr. Meyer, would you like to address
As far
the
as
question?
education, we do have an educational program right now where we go out to the schools and we teach them. We also have them come around. We also send out messages if they want to come out. We take them to actually the well pump stations and show them how it works. As far as saving money, Chuck, as you go with the electric bill, we have our electric bill checked all the time from the special company to make sure we're not getting overbilled. And over the years, we've saved thousands of dollars. So we're looking at that way. But educating our young people is very important, like Mark said, and we are doing just that. I mean, my fellow Commissioner Mindy Germain, she really is great out on the forefront of that. And as far as me being in the newspaper every day, that's not my position. I'm working behind the scenes.
Thank you.
My name is Margaret Galbraith, and as climate change is upon us, there is an issue of having enough safe, clean drinking water. And I know salination is an issue. And so I want to find out from each of you, what do you think the role of the water commissioner is to make sure that we have enough clean drinking water? And why are you best qualified to do that? So, thank you.
Mr. Gibbons?
Well, the first step you can go is conservation, because the more that we conserve, the more we're going to lower our carbon footprint. Because just like Chuck said, our electric bill, I think our electric bill was just under $1 million last year, 900 something now, 1,000. So if we can pump less, we're going to use less electricity. That's going to go a really long way in saving our town and stuff like that. That's pretty much all.
Thank you. Mr. Idle?
Education is a huge part. Climate change is an issue. If we're seeing higher rises in heat and people are watering their lawns more, they're going to draw more water. Drawing more water is like a straw. As you draw more water, we're under the pressure because we have salt water around us of possibly having salt intrusion. So education of why we are asking people to conserve I think it's critical. Again, we're back to the community. The community is an integral part of being a water commissioner, and in trying to explain to the community, we're not just asking you to conserve water. There's a reason we're asking you to conserve water, and the environment plays a big portion in that.
Thank you. Mr. Meyer?
We already are. You heard of our campaign, Do It for Port, for conservation. We're always sending out flyers to tell people to cut back. We also go on our computer and it kicks out the high bills, and we call up the people and send them notices that they have a high bill and to cut back. As far as the Do It for Port, we've already saved about 20% of what we used to use, and it really is working very well. We also have a program in the summertime when it's real hot that we send some of the guys out in the morning to find out. We have different sections that we water at different times, the Flower Hill, or up toward the park section, or down in Manhasset Island, at different days of the week at different hours. This way we're not drawing all at the same time. We have a conservation vehicle that we go out and we take notice of who's sprinkling at the wrong time when we send them notices. And that has cut back on the usage in different areas.
Thank you. This is your opportunity. Please step up to the microphone.
Hi, I'm Laura Mandaro. I'm a lifetime resident of Port Washington. I believe I get a newsletter once a year that contains the water quality for Port Washington, but the data in that newsletter is based on the year before. Mr. Meyer can tell us that. I could be wrong. I'd like to know what each candidate's plan is. Like, is that enough to notify once a year? Is it timely to have data collected from the year before? And what each candidate's plan is to communicate to the community the status of our water safety, cleanliness?
Mr. Idle?
I'm all for a monthly newsletter. Whether or not we can do all those tests and produce them on a monthly basis would be something once I get in there that I would have to take a closer look at. But communication is critical. I think it's very, to your point, it's very important that people know the status of the water. I think the communication, as a monthly newsletter in that manner might also be helpful for about water conservation and other things. So I'm not opposed to any additional information being provided. I think, again, the Port Washington, as it is, the Port Washington Water Department does a fantastic job in communicating, and in general, the website provides quite a bit of information. That's more of a push than a pull, meaning looking on the website versus having something delivered to you. But I'm in agreement that good communication is always a good thing.
Mr. Meyer?
As Chuck just said, we have our website, which we post everything every week. We do our testing every week also to make sure that we do have the quality of water. If there is a problem, we shut down the well or make adjustments to what we need to do with chlorine or whatever we have to do. But if we have a problem, we shut the well down. We would notify our local residents if there is a problem with it. But it's like I said before, we spend over $160,000 a year just in testing. We test every week. We go out and we go different parts of our community here and take samples from different areas, and we send it out. So it's not just going to one little area or your house or the next door neighbor's house. We go out throughout the whole district, we test all the water. And as far as the quality of the quality of water is very good. I mean, I drink it myself. As far as the results from the end of the year, that we take all the information that we put in there and we have to post it by law, and that's what we do. We send you out at the end of the year and you get your results. If you have any other questions, the district is always open. You can come down on Wednesdays and you can ask our engineers or ourselves and we can answer your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Gibbons.
Well, first of all, communication is key all through life. I would have to see the feasibility of all the numbers to be able to do a monthly newsletter, maybe a quarterly newsletter might be a little bit better. We can implement more. I know they have a Facebook page that everybody urges them to go on the Facebook because that's where they're going to find out any road closures or water main blocks or anything like that. I think a quarterly newsletter might be a little bit more appropriate, but again, I'd have to take a look at it and see how fast the actual department can come up with those numbers and put it out. I don't think that they're going to be able to put out a monthly schedule of numbers. I don't know if we're going to be able to do that, but maybe we can upgrade it to quarterly. Maybe we can have a little bit more communication out there. Maybe we can have more communication online. I think that's where a lot of people are going with their communication, but then again, emails and stuff are all getting watered down now anyway. All mine are all junk mail anyway, even in my main box. But I would definitely look into maybe a quarterly, something like that, if it could work. And also if it doesn't cost the department so much money, the district so much money. If all of a sudden it costs us an exorbitant amount of money to be able to produce more publications, then I don't know if it'll necessarily be worth it.
Thank you. More questions? Remember, this is your opportunity, please. If you have concerns, want to ask questions, they're all here to answer.
Doesn't work. I'm Amy Bass. My question is, to whom does our water district report? So you control our water district, but who controls you? What greater entity are you part of?
Mr. Meyer?
First off, we report as far as all our obligations to what the MCL is going to be for the water. We go to the DEC and the New York State. As far as locally, we go to the town of North Hempstead. We go through our budget with them every year. We send it, and then we have a meeting every year that the townspeople can come out, which we post online. We send a flyer out, and that you can come down and add any questions about the quality of water, or what we're doing, or how much money we're spending. And from there, but mainly the town of North Hempstead, we report to the town of North Hempstead.
Thank you. Mr. Gibbons?
Basically, have to report everything to the Department of Health. One thing everybody has to know here is that as a commissioner, we can't decide what chemicals to put in. We can't decide what testing. We have to go, we have to follow the Department of Health protocols to a T. We have to report them to them, they review them, they get back to us. We routinely monitor all of the stations, everything like that, make sure the results meet state and local ordinances and everything like that. But it comes down to answer your question, the Board of Health is who regulates us.
Mr. Adam?
I would say first and foremost, we report to you. You are the people we are delivering and must deliver the highest quality water. But ultimately, the water must meet the EPA and the Department of Health standards. It has to meet those standards before we can deliver to you. But you are number one. We're delivering water. It has to be safe at all times. And I believe we bond out through the town of North Hempstead. There's some other things that go on with bonding through the town of North Hempstead. But I would say the Department of Health and the EPA are the critical two overseers.
Thank you.
Just given the need to conserve our drinking water, would you all support the use of gray water for watering plants and using on golf courses and such?
Mr. Gibbons?
One of the problems with harvesting gray water, it's not like boats have gray water and black water tanks, houses don't. So now you have to redo the house's plumbing. You'd have to take the gray water is your sink, your shower. Not your black water is gonna be coming out of your toilet, that's your main waste. So now we would have to go through houses. Now all of those, you would have different plumbing lines. Instead of having a main stack run through your house and you're gonna have all your lines dropped in, now you're gonna have to have two main stacks. It is a good idea, and it's definitely good for conservation. However, the cost associated to the homeowner is gonna be dramatic in roughing a house for plumbing. What we could do is, if this could catch on, we would have to go to town of North Hempstead and make it implemented into the building procedures onto it, which we do constantly. We upgrade, right now, our insulation factors in houses. You can light a candle, light a house that's been foamed. Everything keeps on moving up the way it moves up, and that's the way it should keep going.
Thank you. Mr. Idle?
I believe that gray water has a place, maybe, bear with me, more to golf courses, et cetera, but from my little experience, I believe the Fort Washington Water Department has pursued that, looked into it, and there's an issue with the EPA and what they think the gray water has in it and might seep back into our drinking water. So if the gray water, bear with me again, could have some other filter as it was arrived at the golf course and could be filtered one more time before it was sprayed, and the EPA, the DEC thought it was safe, then yes, I would support it. I don't know enough about what the DEC's concerns are with the gray water as it is, if it was to be sprayed onto the golf course. I'd have to look closer at what their concern was. But generally, yes, if there's a way to filter it one more time and use it safely, I'm for it.
Thank you. Mr. Meyer?
We've already looked into this. We got a grant for about $5,000. What we're looking to do is take the wastewater that they're dumping out in the bay, which they say is drinkable, here to there, from the sewer department. We're gonna take that and we wanted to pipe it up to the golf courses, like the Village Club, Sands Point Club, and use that water. But right now, the health department will not let you do that, neither will Nassau County, so we're at a standstill. But it would stop the water going out into the bay from the sewer department that's been treated and everything else, but use that gray water to water the greens at the golf courses, and it would save a lot of money, and it would also stop saltwater intrusion because all the golf courses right now they're pumping their own wells and they're pumping it out, so it's causing, and there's nobody really watching them to see how much water they are pumping, and what happens is it's causing saltwater intrusion. If we did that with the gray water, it would probably help stop that in conservation also.
Thank you. More questions for Remember, this is your opportunity, your last opportunity to ask all three candidates. Please, don't be shy. No more questions? You feel like you learned enough tonight to make an informed decision? Please, this is your last opportunity. If there are no more questions, we're going to go to closing arguments. No? Okay. Thank you. I just want to say before we take closing statements from the candidates, I want to remind voters that Election Day is next Tuesday, December 12th, at the Polish American Cultural Hall, which is at 5 Pulaski Place in Port Washington. And the poll site is open from noon to 9 p.m. Also, just as a reminder, if you don't remember all the answers to the questions asked, a recording of this forum will be available on the League of Women Voters Port Washington-Manhasset YouTube channel within 48 hours. So you will be able to review it before the election. So now to closing statements. Please, again, if you can offer your applause to all three candidates for their willingness to answer your questions together on the same night. And for closing statements, Mr. Idle.
Thank you everyone for attending. We've had the opportunity tonight to discuss many of the important topics related to the future of drinking water. The challenges we face with water management due to environmental concerns such as the possible saltwater intrusion, emerging contaminants, and climate change are one set of evolving issues that must be monitored and addressed. The day-to-day infrastructure for the office automation needs such as billing systems, servers, reviewing aging fleet of vehicles, reducing electrical costs, managing overall facility infrastructure of buildings, pumps, and more must also be addressed. I believe my diverse background makes me the best candidate for the future of being able to provide guidance, experience, oversight, to move forward with the times. All this for the preservation and safety of the infrastructure of our water. The Water Commissioner's job is at the forefront of addressing challenges and finding solutions that ensure a resilient water supply for all. I will be on the forefront working with and supporting the other commissioners, superintendent, office manager, and other executive team members to address the challenges. As your Water Commissioner, I will also fully support the hardworking back office field staff, as well as the engineers and contractors who are all working every day to ensure the delivery of safe, plentiful drinking water. I will work with the commissioners and executive teams to make sure that everyone has the tools necessary to get the job done. Moving forward and thinking and planning into the future, I would like to review technology solutions that enable citizens to better monitor their daily water usage, which supports conservation, more grant writing efforts to reduce costs, possible replacement of fleet and electric vehicles, reduce maintenance, reduce plant operation costs, and even look at community solar. I'm excited to be a future member of the Nassau-Suffolk County Water Commissioners Association, and I thank you for your time, and I look forward to being your next Water Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Idle. Mr. Meyer.
As Chuck just said, we are doing all what he said he's looking forward to do. We do it every week, every day. We rotate our trucks. We're looking to save energy. We looked at solar energy. By the time with the solar energy, it doesn't pay for itself. As far as your quality of water, I've been here for 23 years and I never had anybody complain about the quality of water. I'm there all the time. You got a question? I'm there. I work with all my fellow commissioners. I work with all my fellow workers at the plant. We talk all the time, and we have a communication between us, and we do have a good water system. We have a great water system actually, and the water here in Port Washington I think is better than most. And I think that I do an excellent job for you, the constituents, and I'm looking forward to continuing.
Thank you. Mr. Gibbons.
I'd like to thank everybody for their time tonight. As Water Commissioner, you're the face of the Water District. You have to be consistently out in our community spreading our message. After 23 years in office, how excited can Mr. Meyer be about his job? He does not participate in webinars. He does not participate in promotional videos. He was not available for comment in the court times. He used a picture that's 23-year-old that's hard to even resemble him. We need a water commissioner that will be out within our community with our residents, not only spreading the message of our district, but listening to our 30,000 residents about their needs. We need a commissioner who's eager, who's passionate, and who's enthusiastic. We need a commissioner who wants to be out there. We need the next generation water commissioner, and I'm the next generation water commissioner. I will stand vigilant on all of our safe water practices. I will stand watchful for the new emerging contaminants for which risk to human health is not yet known. I will keep a sharp eye on our 12 wells, our 147 miles of mains, 2 water towers, 2 vaults, 1,089 fire hydrants, and most importantly, the 30,000 residents of Port Washington. Water conservation is necessary to fulfill the needs of our future generations. I'm eager to promote conservation and sustainability at our early age to our elementary school students. The promotion and conservation of sustainability at an early age will instill significance for a lifetime. We will create real sense understanding through experience and hands-on demonstrations. Overall, my goal is to make my town, your town, our town, a better place to live and to flourish for many, many generations to come. Thank you.
I want to thank all 3 candidates. The League appreciates your willingness to answer questions from voters thoughtfully and candidly, and in civil discourse with your challengers. And we salute your commitment to serving your fellow citizens by running to serve in this office. Thank you. And thank you also to everyone in the audience. Thank you for your thoughtful questions, for spending the evening educating yourselves about all the candidates, and for your engagement with democracy. Voters like you keep our democracy thriving. Thank you, and have a good night.